We are going to continue our talk today on the FAQs on the Texas Realtors website about the new compensation rules, at least for one more tip of the week. In particular, I want to talk about how buyer's agent's commission can be paid. There still seems to be some major confusion. There are three ways. First, the buyer can pay their agent's commission directly out of their pocket. Now, many of you say that buyers don't want to do this, but if you think about it, commission is wrapped into the price of the home, and therefore the loan amount that the buyer is paying both principal and interest on monthly. Maybe the buyer does not want to pay interest on their commission. Do I think this will be the default? No. The most difficult part of purchasing a home is not the interest. It is the down payment. And so many buyers do not have extra liquidity to pay for the commission out of their own pocket. So I anticipate that commission will be paid one of the other two ways. The second way a buyer's agent can be paid commission is directly from the seller. So instead of having Form 2402 compensation agreement between brokers signed, your seller will fill out paragraph 5B of your listing agreement with only what they are willing to pay the listing agent. Then they can tell their listing agent that they are willing to pay the buyer's agent commission directly. And the listing agent can advertise that the seller is willing to pay the BAC. The buyer will negotiate that in the contract via the Texas Realtors addendum regarding broker's fees. And that's Form 2406. They will fill out paragraph D2 and likely D2B instead of D2A. This will be the form to use until TREC amends the contract to provide for commissions. In this addendum, the buyer will ask the seller to pay their agent a percentage or a flat fee, which can only be up to the amount that the buyer agreed to pay in their agent in their buyer rep agreement. If their buyer rep agreement says 2%, then the addendum will have D2B filled in with 2% if the buyer wants the seller to pay all of their agent's commission. Now, the third and final way that a buyer's agent can be paid commission is through the listing agent. Seller can pay their listing agent a percentage, let's say 6%, and have their listing agent share half of it. So in this case, 3% with the buyer's agent. This is compensation sharing. All the compensation is owed to the listing agent, and then the listing agent pays the buyer's agent. In this case, the listing agreement will have paragraph 5A1 and 2 filled in. 5A1 is how much the seller will be paying their listing agent, so say 6%. 5A2 is what the listing agent is to share with the buyer's agent, 3%. Flat fees can be stated instead of percentages. Additionally, the buyers will add the Texas Realtors addendum regarding broker's fees, that Form 2406, to the contract and check box D1 to show that the listing agent should be paying the buyer's agent. In this example, D1 of the addendum would be filled in with 3%. Now remember, the buyer's agent cannot get more than what is in their buyer rep agreement. So if 5A1 of the listing agreement is filled in with a 6% and 5A2 is filled in with 3%, but the buyer rep agreement only allows the buyer's agent to get 2%, the buyer's agent can only be paid 2% from the listing agent. This leaves 4% for the listing agent. The FAQs are very clear that if there is no buyer's agent or the buyer's agent is getting less than 3%, the listing broker retains the total broker's fees in 5A1. I am aware that some of you would not choose to retain all 6% from the seller if there's not a buyer's agent or the buyer's agent is getting less, but it is important that you know that the entire commission is still owed to the listing agent, unless otherwise agreed to in writing. Send your next idea for Tip of the Week at tipoftheweek@allegiancetitle.com. See you at the closing table.